Thanks for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Nigeria's Drug Enforcement Agency breaks up an international coke trafficking ring that used the continent's most populous country as a transit point for internationally bound shipments of life-devastating narcotics. Also, opponents of Tunisian President Kaïs Saïed rally in Tunis in a protest that is the latest in a series of pro-democracy demonstrations sparked by growing political and economic discontent. And we turn to Senegal for a look at the city of Saint-Louis, which sees traces of its role in the transatlantic slave trade slowly disappearing as buildings linked to the grim era are also lost to neglect and urban changes. But first, Nigeria's Drug Enforcement Agency has broken up an international cocaine trafficking ring that used Nigeria as a transit point for illicit shipments bound for the UK, Europe and Asia. Its ringleader was reportedly arrested as he tried to leave the country. Chinwe Faith tells us more.
The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLE, have apprehended a social media influencer Folabi Kazeem Michael. He's alleged of heading an international drug trafficking syndicate in Nigeria. The agency seized 184.5 kg of cocaine worth about $28 million on the 3rd of August inside brown boxes at a courier company in Lagos. They explained that the raid is currently the agency's largest interception and the shipment was connected to a wider international network that had used Nigeria as a route for transporting cocaine to Britain, Europe and Asia. Along Folabi, a staff of the logistic firm was arrested for having facilitated the transportation of the drugs. Folabi is said to have been on the run to France when he was intercepted at the international airport in Lagos on August 18th. Before this incident, NDLA had two major busts within 3 months. In May 2026, the agency had intercepted the operation of a transnational methamphetamine cartel with a lab valued at around $360 million in remote farm in Ijebu, east of Ogun State, and had also, at a 2-week interval, successfully taken down a major trafficking network led by Simon Amadi, who was in collaboration with international partners. Concerns are rising as Nigeria serves as a major strategic transit hub for international drug trafficking networks, moving narcotics between South America, Europe and Asia. Transnational syndicates exploit local logistic firms, porous borders and courier services to traffic illicit substances like cocaine, promoting aggressive crackdowns by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency.
Chinwe Osundu there for us. Now, in Zambia, a former cabinet minister has been confirmed to have been fatally shot by police just after last week's elections. It happened while Mututwe Kafwaya was at opposition leader Brian Mundibile's house the day after the August 13th vote when security forces raided it. The cabinet said that the raid was targeting a suspected militia that posed a serious threat to state security. 11 people were arrested and Mundibile went into hiding. His camp rejects the accusations from the security services. Mundibile said that he will be challenging the election results that returned President Hakainde Hichilema for a second term. Now, in Tunis, following a difficult summer marked by power cuts, water shortages, and even a scarcity of bottled water, anti-government protesters marched through the capital streets on Thursday under banners reading Nafas, or Let Us Breathe. Lilia Blaze tells us more.
Hundreds of protesters have gathered near the main tramway station here in Tunis, the capital, chanting anti-Saïed slogans, but also voicing their deep frustration with the steady degradation of their economic and social lives. Every day brings a new controversy in Tunisia, whether it's the poor state of public infrastructure or the uncollected trashes piling up on the streets and in the beaches. Today, as we speak, a massive strike by fuel transporters has created a lot of queues in front of gas stations.
Even with our pensions, daily life has become a struggle. The condition of our curbs, roads and hospitals is abysmal. We simply cannot absorb any more price increases, especially since our pensions never go up. And if a new law allows us to work after retirement, we'll just end up paying even more taxes. So what's the point? We keep hearing officials promise that things will improve, yet we see zero results. Our children work abroad and refuse to come back. I'm even considering leaving the country myself.
This is not the Tunisia we imagined living in. Honestly, I don't know how people on minimum wage manage to survive. They work just to pay for electricity and water, the very same electricity and water that gets cut off all summer long. And as for political dialogue, it simply doesn't exist.
In reaction to this crisis, the government has primarily communicated on their Facebook page via press releases published on Facebook. Today, the government published their 2027 plan for economic development, highlighting the slight decrease in inflation and employment rates over the summer, and insisting that the Tunisian economy remains resilient despite these challenges.
Lilia Blaze there for us in Tunis. Now, Ecuador's intelligence chief was amongst the 7 victims of a helicopter crash in Kenya, Samburu County this week. Michele Sensi-Kuntugi was on the aircraft as it was flying to the Loisaba Wildlife Reserve in northern Kenya when it went down. 5 Americans, one of whom is believed to have been Sensi-Kuntugi's wife, and the pilot were also amongst the dead. The Kenyan Red Cross says that search and rescue efforts since are being hampered by difficult terrain and a fire at the crash site. Well, in South Africa, a 16-year-old boy appeared in court for a second day on Thursday after being arrested in connection to an international child exploitation ring. He was arrested on Monday after the FBI and the National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children tipped off local police in South Africa. The suspects believed to have links with a violent online network known as 764, and Wenzel talks us through.
The Malmesbury teenager is facing a total of 15 charges, including sexual grooming of a child, compelling a child to commit sexual assault, exposing a child to pornography, possessing, creating, and distributing child pornography, sexually exploiting a child, and charges of animal cruelty. The 16-year-old made his second court appearance in the Malmesbury Magistrates Court today. He'd been seen by the district surgeon, who recommended he be sent for mental evaluation. The court took the recommendation, and the teenager is being sent to Valkenburg Psychiatric Hospital, some 15 kilometers away from central Cape Town, to be assessed to establish whether he is able to follow the proceedings and if he can be held criminally responsible. Because the accused is under the age of 18, the court granted the state's application to seal the charge sheet to protect the rights of the accused, as well as the victims and their families. The teenager was arrested on Monday after the USA's FBI alerted the South African police about a person operating inside South Africa believed to be linked to the international online 764 network, a violent extremist group targeting children. The arrest and the details of the charges has rocked South Africa, with many parents asking how a teenager from a small town got pulled into a network like this. The 764 network is described as a cult which targets and exploits vulnerable individuals through grooming and coercion. Complaints against the team were made by children aged from 11 to 17. The 16-year-old is reported to have a history of psychotherapy over a number of years, and that he struggled with school performance and was taken out of school in 2024 when he would have been around 14. He'd been homeschooled since then, and has also apparently been spending a lot of time online, with gaming being noted as one of his hobbies. The 16-year-old is scheduled to appear in court again next week, Thursday, for a bail hearing.
Now, Senegal's historic city of St. Louis sees traces of its role in the transatlantic slave trade slowly disappearing. Buildings are being lost to neglect, demolition, but also to renovation. Clarice Fortuné tells us more.
From above, St. Louis looks much as it has for centuries, a historic island between the Senegal River and the Atlantic. But behind its colonial facades lies a darker, lesser-known past. This crumbling building is believed to be the city's only surviving slave depot.
In the northern district, there used to be a lot of slave quarters, but unfortunately, they can no longer be found. Most likely, many were bought by families and converted for other purposes.
The building belonged to a French trading company and was built in the 1820s. 5 cells remain on the ground floor, where enslaved people were held before being deported to the Americas. Historians say St. Louis was a significant holding point in a transatlantic slave trade, yet its role has largely faded from the national memory.
In general, our people don't really want to talk about it. In St. Louis, it's really like a taboo subject. It's rare to see people from St. Louis talking about slavery in St. Louis. I'm absolutely certain that this slavery, many people from St. Louis don't even know about it.
St. Louis was founded as France's first trading post in sub-Saharan Africa in 1659 and later became the capital of French West Africa. But experts say focusing on its colonial legacy has often overshadowed the island's history of slavery.
The national narrative has focused on Gorée for slavery and on Saint Louis for colonization, trying to show both sides, the harmful side and the useful side.
Now authorities are trying to preserve what remains. A conservation plan aims to ensure that renovations respect St. Louis's historic architecture. But historians warn that preserving its past means confronting all of its history, including the parts that remain difficult to discuss.
That's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.